live now.
Okay, thank you, Adrian. This meeting is called to order, the Animal Services Center of the Mesilla Valley Board of Directors, meeting Thursday, September 24, 2020 at 9 a.m. Excuse me, the time is actually not 9 a.m. right now, but, and I have a very strange screen. Okay, so it's approximately 9:05 a.m. Are there any changes to the agenda?
Madam Chair, we need to make determination.
Oh, you need to make the roll call. Perdón.
Yes, ma'am. No.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Dollahan.
Commissioner Ellens. No, Commissioner Ellens. Jeannie Quintero.
I just unmuted.
Okay, Commissioner Ellens is here. Jeannie Quintero.
Present.
David Dollahan is present. Councilor Abeyta Stuve.
Present.
Commissioner Manny Sanchez.
Present.
Councilor and Chair Flores.
Present.
You have quorum, madam.
Thank you, Mr. Dollahan. So we'll move to, are there any changes to the agenda? If none, we'll move to the approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Do I have a second? Moved by Commissioner Ellens and seconded by Councilor Abeyta Stuve.
Calling the roll. Commissioner Ellens.
Yes.
Councilor Abeyta Stuve.
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez.
Yes.
Chair Flores.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
The minutes. May I have a motion to approve the minutes from the regular ASCMV board meeting held August 27, 2020?
This is Commissioner Sanchez. I'll move approval.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Sanchez and seconded by Commissioner Ellens to approve the agenda.
Commissioners are on top of our game this morning.
It was to approve the minutes of August 27th. So calling the roll, Commissioner Ellens.
Yes.
Councilor Abeyta Stuve.
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez.
Yes.
Chair Flores.
Yes.
Motion carries a 4-0.
Reports and presentations.
Madam Chair, this is David Dollahan. I'm going to stop sharing the screen so the ACO staff from both the city and the county can share their screen for their reports.
Okay.
Mary Lou, are you going first?
Oh, there we are.
David, is Yvonne not present?
I'm here.
Oh, okay. 'Cause
Yvonne is here.
I didn't see a picture.
Oh, I know why. There, I have my bar. There I am.
There you are.
Okay.
Mary Lou, you were muted.
Can everybody see the screen that I have up?
Yes.
Okay, good. So I'll go ahead and start with our August report. Going into our calls for service for August, our dispatch calls were 611 calls for service. We had 109 self-initiated calls with 17 assist calls, which gave us a grand total of 737 calls that we assisted or responded to for animal control and or just animal control, not codes, for the month of August. And of course, at the bottom, they're broken down by district, and that's districts by the Sheriff's Department districts. Then we go back into the animals picked up and impounded at the Animal Services Center of the Mesilla Valley, where there was 195 animals that were impounded at the Animal Services Center. And of course, they're by districts at the bottom. And then of course the geo districts are an explanation of what they are at the bottom. And so it'll give you an explanation of what there are: cats or dogs, owner surrender, stray animals, stray dogs, sick or injured, welfare holds, and then of course bite quarantines. It'll give you an explanation of that at the bottom. Total animals picked up, because not everything goes to the shelter, by districts were 234 animals. And of course, District 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 7. So it'll give you an explanation of what the most traffic is in those districts. So of course, 3 and 4, 2, those are the most high traffic areas for the month of August. Then the return to owner, we successfully returned 40 animals back to their owner. We scanned for microchips 254 or 252. That kind of gives you a pie of looking at that.
Were those, go back to that screen, Mary Lou. The 252, were those animals that did not have microchips? Or is it a combination of that and not being able to find the owner?
That's a combination. Either some of them had microchips, some of them don't. Sometimes people ask us to just come and scan an animal. Maybe they're holding that animal and they found it and they're going to continue holding on to it, especially now with COVID. Not everything goes into the shelter. Sometimes, we just find one and we'll scan it. We'll get it back to the owner. And sometimes they won't have a microchip at all. So it's a combination of all of those. And then our bite calls, we had 13 exposure bites to humans, 6 exposure bites to other animals. We had 4 rabies submissions that actually went to Albuquerque for rabies testing. They were all negative, thank God. We had, out of the bite exposures to humans, we had 6 of those. The animals that were current on the rabies vaccinations, there were 6 of them were current. Then the quarantines, we had 1 quarantine at the Animal Services Center, 4 at the Court Hold facility, 1 was quarantined at their own veterinary clinic, 6 did a home quarantine, and then 7 of them were gone on arrival, meaning the officer got there and there's no animal to be found, or maybe the person got bit at night and, called us and the animal was gone. Nobody could find the animal. We had owner releases. We had 18 owner releases. And so these are the reasons for the animals that were owner released. We had 11 of them that were too aggressive, so the owners no longer wanted them. We had 4 of them that they no longer could care for and couldn't handle the dog. 2 of them were moving and couldn't keep the dog. And then 1 of them that the dog was very old and had some medical issues. And then the court cases for August, we had 7 cases that went to court in August. Out of those 7 cases, they had 8 charges. So that was about 30 and a half hours of regular time of our officers' times. And then it also included about 11 hours of overtime hours. So that means the officer had to come in on their day off to go to court for some of these cases. Came out to 2 cases were dismissed for compliance. 5 of them got continued, and 1 of them had a guilty with a $200 fine.
What was the guilty finding for?
The guilty Let me see if it's got, I didn't write that down on here. I could go back and check and see which one that one was for. But I didn't write that down. I can check.
Let me know later on.
Okay. And so this is like added information from a couple of other reports that was requested of what type of charges they were. We had 2 of the citations were animal cruelty type charges. 3 of them were restraint, animal restraint. 2 of them were population control, meaning they don't have any, they're not spayed or neutered, or they don't have any intact permits for that. And then one of them was a rabies vaccination type charge. I don't have any updated anything on the spay and neuter program as of right now because of the COVID issues, and they're getting everything back together. So we'll have some more updated information on that real soon as that gets updated. And for that, I'll stand for any questions.
Are there any questions? If not, thank you very much for your presentation, Mary Lou.
Thank you.
I always enjoy hearing your reports. Thank you. Next on the agenda would be our city animal officer.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the
Good
board.
morning. Good morning, Gino.
My name is Gino Jimenez. I am the Animal Control Supervisor for the City of Las Cruces. I will present to you my August report. So for the month of August 2020, we responded to 384 reported strays. Of those, 176 were GOA, meaning the officer did not have contact with that animal. We were able to apprehend 208 strays. 176 of those were impounded at the Animal Service Center. 81 of them were dogs and 95 were cats. We were successful in field RTOing 32 animals. We were unsuccessful in field RTOing 10. So that gives us a total of 42 identifiable animals or identified animals. So here is a chart of our 3-year comparison for strays. And you can see, for obvious reasons, since February or March, our numbers have really gone down. This is a good trend for us, for the reasons that it's going down is not good, but we like the direction that this is going.
Hey, Gino.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I don't know if anybody else having the same problem, but I don't see your presentation.
Yeah, Gino, I just see you speaking.
I don't either.
What-
Sorry. I should have said something earlier.
Yeah, I didn't either, and I just didn't want to say anything.
Oh,
I mean,
it
decision not to ask.
says that I'm sharing it.
We see it now.
Okay. Would you like me to go back to the beginning so you can?
Or rather, we see one of your screens.
You need to go back to the PowerPoint. It's your main screen, Gino. It's not the PowerPoint screen. If you launch PowerPoint down at the bottom, we should be able to see it right there.
Now is it visible?
No, Gino, what you probably want to do is stop sharing and then share screen again.
There
And
it
then
is.
once,
It came up for a second.
once you'll see the windows, look for the window that has your PowerPoint and select that one.
How about now? Is it still my main screen?
No,
No,
we see it.
you're on the, we're good.
Yeah, we can see your presentation, or I can.
Let me go back to the beginning then. Huh. Something is going wrong here. Let me fix it. Is it visible now?
No, yes. Now it is.
Can everybody see it then? Because I'm having issues over here. Sorry about that.
I can see it.
We see the slideshow like for the presenter part of it where we see your slide and then the next slide.
Oh,
Oh. This,
wow.
I think if you were to go into display, I don't know if you see that, but I think if you go into the display settings.
right. I'm trying to stop sharing so that I can start resharing again.
Welcome to the new reality.
I apologize for this. This wasn't like this last time. So
Welcome to my world, Gino.
You're good now, Gino.
Anything that can go wrong does go wrong.
I
Gino, you're good
apologize.
now.
Okay. So there, you see my introduction screen then?
Yes.
Very good. Okay.
I love the logo. Cat and dog.
All right. This is where we were. Does anybody need me to go back to where we were so that you can see it on the slides, the PowerPoint? Okay.
If it presents a problem? No. If you can do it without all over, sure, please. But not if you.
No, here we are. This is my first slide.
Okay.
So these are the numbers. I'm sure everybody heard it, but I'll give you a chance to look at the graph and to look at the actual numbers. I apologize for that.
No need to apologize.
So here is our 3-year comparison for our reported strays. Again, you know, we like the trend where this direction is going. The reasons behind it aren't that great, but hopefully when this is all said and done and we can continue this trend, that would be awesome. Here is our 3-year comparison for field RTOs. You'll see that last year we had a tremendous dip from the previous year and for this year, but our numbers seem to be leveling out for this year. We're getting a lot more field RTOs than we did last year. So this is a slide for the reasons that we were unable to field RTO animals out in the field. 5, because there was no contact by phone or at the residence. 3, because the microchip was not registered and or updated. 2, because the owner passed away and there was no other information left for who would be willing to be responsible for those animals. And 1, there was no response through found pet registry. The officer actually waited for 25 minutes on hold and they never responded back to him. The next slide is the reasons for owner releasing animals. We had 1 sick cat, 1 sick dog. We had 4 aggressive dogs. 1 actually attacked the owner and his son. And we had 3 for bites. 1 bit the owner's daughter. So they no longer wanted that animal, that dog. And here is the map. I know it's blurry. This is just a screenshot of the map. I will try to share that again so that we can look at it. Can everybody see the map?
Yes.
Very good. Thank you. So this is the actual map of our August impounds. You'll see that the blue dots represent dogs and the orange dots represent cats and the red represent other. If there is a particular area that you would like to have me zoom in on, I am able to do that here. And of course, like I said in the last meeting, this is available on the CLC webpage. It is a read only, but anybody is able to actually manipulate the screen just like I do. But again, it's only read only.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Councillor Abey-Testuvi.
Thank you. May I please have Sir Jimenez look into, it's on District 2 and right around the Locust area. I know we had some cat issues near there, but it looks today, and I just want to make sure that we haven't had perhaps any calls about cats in that area that we had a problem with last month.
Was it a particular address, ma'am?
No, it's just the general area. I was just seeing if there was any cat calls for cats in that general zone, and it doesn't look like there was. And I probably need glasses, which is why I need it to be brought in a little bit more.
Madam Chair, Councilor Stubbe, I can zoom in a little bit tighter if you'd like me to.
No, that seems to be okay. I'm not seeing any of, it was right around Kent, I believe. Yeah, and so I'm not seeing cat issues.
No, as a matter of fact, that area, I think we took care of the stray cats in that area. However, if you look at District 3, you see these dots right where my cursor is. You continue to get a lot of calls for service in that area. And this was only last month.
Wow.
Okay. Were you able to pick up, and I'm sorry, Madam Chair?
Of course, of course.
Thank you. Were you able to grab any or of the cats in that area? Were they all gone? Have we, or if it's a colony, if it's one particular cat that keeps hanging out in the area?
Madam Chair, Board Member Stubbe, if you look, are you talking about this specific one that I have highlighted? Okay.
Yeah.
These are actual ones that we impounded. These are ones that we've caught. Yes, ma'am. So if I can zoom in a little bit more, and then I can click on that dot, it tells you exactly
Great. Wow.
what we picked up from that area.
Okay.
It doesn't tell me which officer did it, but you can see that it was a gray and white cat that was impounded. Excuse me. I edited it on the 9th, but the date of collection was the 20th of August.
Okay.
The time, 12 o'clock a.m. is just a generic time to fill in.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Chair, those are all the questions I have for now.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry, I don't have the participants up for some reason. So please forgive me for not recognizing you. Yes, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. Thanks, Gino and Mary Lou for the presentation. I wanted to ask, because I know that it's been an issue before, it's along the same lines as Councilor Abey-Testuvi is in Councilor Vasquez's area. I know we had seen an increase in feral cats and lots of issues. I wondered if you could tell month to month if that has changed and improved, and maybe reasons if it has improved, what that might be.
Madam Chair, Mayor Pro Tem Gandara, if you look at my map, there is relatively no change month to month. Yes, some months may be a little bit lower, some months may be a little bit higher, but overall, we have the same call volume in every district throughout the city. I know that Councilor Vasquez was having some concerns about the cats in his district.
Yeah.
And that one that I highlighted earlier for Councilor Beta Stewie is actually in his district. So they're right in this area right here is where, for no better words, a hot spot for feral cats.
Wow.
Here is another one in his district, right at the border. And you can tell because if you zoom in just a little bit more, when the map is out all the way, it just shows one dot. But if you zoom in a little bit more, you can see that there was
The clusters.
a cluster. Yes, ma'am. So like on this one right here, there's two. And then if I can, takes it a second to catch up. Right here is another one with two. But this one is the one that's most concerning, because just from this far out, you can see that there's a cluster of about 9 for just last month.
So Gino, in that instance, what as a animal codes person do you reach out like to maybe educating the community or reaching out to other service providers to say, look, we're having some hot spots here. Can you help us? Is there a registered colony? I realize, that has sunsetted, but I mean, what do you do in terms of preventing or reducing, eradicating the issue?
Well, right now, Madam Chair, Mayor Pro Tem Gandara, because there are no registered colonies right now, that did sunset, like you said. So there are no permitted colonies in the city right now. What we have done is we will go talk to the people in this area. You can see that this is an apartment complex. So what may be one of the issues is that the cats are attracted to the dumpster. The ease of the food that's been discarded makes it easy for the cats to come and eat there, because the majority of these are unwanted cats that have no home, so they're fending for themselves. The easiest and best place to get food for these cats to survive on their own is from these dumpsters. What I have started to do is keep a track of these, and what I am going to do is reach out to Frank Bryce at the Humane Society of Southern New Mexico to see if maybe they can assist in getting these cats ear-tipped. Yes, ma'am.
Spayed. Okay. Okay.
I hope that answers your question.
It does, Gino. And if you can report back next month in regards to what transpired from those conversations, and if we could see, I think it important not only to monitor, but also to speak to us more in a macro sense about the work that you've been trying to do to reduce that, so we can see a more significant, not only in Councilor Vasquez's district, but in the rest of our districts. Maybe we need to do, and this is to educate, an educational campaign, informing, landlords and especially apartment complexes, sort of the problems that we're having. I just think it's one of those things that we have to not only just do one thing, but collectively we have to, right? All the groups that are animal advocates, to include, you all that are obviously managing and keeping up the law, the ordinances, if you will. Like, what can we do to work together? And I'm asking also the advocates out there, groups, right, to recommending that they spend some time with, which they do so much work. I'm not suggesting they're not, but maybe collectively we have, or some discussions about how we manage that and try to reduce it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
Madam Chair, this is Commissioner Sanchez.
Yes, Commissioner Sanchez.
Gino, I'm just wondering, is there I know you you looked at this, all these cats in this particular district, but and they're around, and I think it's an interesting point that you bring up around having the dumpster. Do you see that across other parts of the city, or is that just seems to be just one hot spot?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Sanchez, in this particular case, it's just this one hotspot. But let me look at this other district, because as we were speaking, I saw that there was some more over here. So if you look in District 1, I'm sorry, District 4. There seems to have been 3 in this neighborhood alone, and they look to be about 4 or 5 homes away. This is a mobile home community, so and I'm not trying to belittle or put anybody down, but it is my experience that in mobile home communities there's a quick turnaround. A lot of homes get vacated, and then within a month or 2, they get another resident to rent or move into that home. So while the first resident may have left a cat behind because they didn't want to take it with them, now the second resident comes in and says, well, I don't want it. And because we're complaint driven, we'll go out and try to remove that cat from them. That's my experience with mobile home communities. But there's not one other than that spot in Councilor Vasquez's district. Last month, there was not really a hot spot. Here is another one in District 4 that shows 4. That could be considered, like I say, and I use that term hotspot. Maybe I should set a number of 5 or more. But there was a cluster of 4 in this one.
No, and I think it's interesting, and even recalling specific like that. I don't know that it has to be a certain number. I'm just curious, and the reason I ask is you mentioned having to work, working with the Animal Service Center for education, and I'm just wondering, if you see these types of things, similar themes repeat, and if there's things that we can do, to make sure that those are, if you're seeing it because of a open, or maybe residents aren't doing, closing a trash container properly, or those types of things, that we can reach out and have those discussions to try to, especially if they're seeing a recurrent issue, that we're just working with them to educate them that might be one thing they can do to help minimize what the issues they're seeing with stray animals.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Sanchez, absolutely, because that's one of the talks that my officers have out in the field. If they see that they're continuing to catch cats around dumpsters, is that they will go and educate the property owner to say, please advise your residents to close the lid, secure it a little bit better, whatever it takes, so that they don't have that resource to go to, and we're not continually picking them up from that dumpster area. Yes, sir.
Okay. No, I appreciate it. Like I said, it's just an interesting point, because I don't that you're able to zone. I love the map. I love what you've done with this, and I think it's interesting when we have these discussions, because you're able to isolate some of these areas, and then the recall of what you're particularly seeing in certain areas. So I really appreciate this. So, thank you, sir.
Thank you. With that, Madam Chair, that was the end of my presentation.
Thank you so much, Officer Jimenez. Are there any further questions from the board? Okay, again, thank you very, very much for your presentation. It's always enjoyable to
Madam Chair,
about our little. Yes, Mr. Commissioner Ellens.
Mary Lou, do we have any feral cat colonies outside of the city that we're aware of? Hello?
Mary Lou, you're muted.
Sorry, I thought I didn't think I was muted. Not that I'm aware of. I don't know of any feral cat colonies. No, I'm sure there are some out there. I just don't know where they're at. But I don't know where they're at, sir.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Commissioner, and thank you, Mary Lou. If there aren't any further questions, may we move on to our next item, which is the shelter stats and activities, statistics and activities by Clint Thacker, Director Clint Thacker.
Good morning. I just need to figure out how to get my video back up. There you go. All right, can the presentation be seen?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you all very much. Today, September 24th, we're going to be reviewing the numbers for August 2020 numbers. The current animal count at the animal center is 365, broken down by dogs of 193 and cats at 172. That is quite a bit lower than 2019, where we're at 972. The intake for the dogs, 2020 versus 2019. Again, 571 for 2020, and 2019 was 1,060. So half our population, which is a great thing. The dogs and cats are both considerably lower than it was in 2019. And again, these, for those that are watching that don't know, these lower numbers are because we requested from animal control, the city and the county, to not be taking in any animals that don't really need to come to the center. So only sick, aggressive, injured, these types of animals that need to be removed from the public and come into the center so we can care for them and take care of them are coming in.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Ellens?
On Facebook, there are a number of animal channels, and I continually read about people who are finding animals and they're going to take them to the shelter, and they're perfectly good animals. Are we accepting them?
No, we're not. If they are healthy, we're not accepting those animals either. Individuals are encouraged to go on walks with, if it's a dog, go on walks with it. If it's a cat, go for a walk without the cat. Look for anything that might, lost, people posting lost. They're encouraged to put on found. They're encouraged to post on Facebook, all these different, like you said, these different Facebook places that they could post of found animals. In the recent presentation I was in, they said that an animal was found, or when it was redeemed, it was found that the owner was within a mile of where the animal was found lost. So the owners statistically are very close to where these people are found, or where these people are finding the animals. So we encourage them just to go out and do a little bit of work. I like this because it's placing more community responsibility on the community instead of relying just on the center, where in all reality, and our stats show that bringing an animal here to the center is not the best place for your healthy stray animal. So.
Okay, thank you.
So our returns, in other words, animals that were adopted and then brought back to us, we had 2 dogs in August returned. One was destructive and the other one was aggressive with humans. Our outcomes, always an interesting slide. We have 121 adoptions, reclaims is 48, rescued 144, community cats 31 were released back, euthanasia was 110, and that equal to 19.3% of our overall intake, which led us to a live release rate of 75%. Remember, as we do percentages, the lower number of animals coming in, the more that percentage can fluctuate greatly. So very proud of our team that even though we have half the numbers coming in, we're still getting that same live release rate. So,
Madam Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Allens.
Clint, I assume that 19% figure is because we're taking in or limiting take-ins to injured, severely injured animals that probably won't make it.
yes. And also medical, yeah. And that's included in my presentation this time was a request, and it's coming up next for euthanasia reasons, and also live release rate percentages as well.
Okay, thank you.
So this was requested by the board last time of our euthanasia reasons. As you can see, the yellow is dogs, and the orange is cats, and the gray is wildlife. So our number one reason for cats for euthanasia is feral. These are animals that they're most likely because the city does not, or nobody in the city has a registered colony, that they need to be euthanized. There's no outsource for them. So those are euthanized. And then the next is for medical issues there. For dogs, our number one is medical or respiratory signs for those animals. These are animals that the TX means that they're treated. So they've been under medical treatment. They're not responding. And we need to move these animals. We need to make the difficult decisions and move these animals out so others can come and take their place. Some other high points that we're seeing, medical for cats is too young, that they have a hard time thriving when they're brought in. We've started a campaign that I hope to continue and be more aggressive on is just to leave kittens alone. If people, as you can see from this graph, if people bring young kittens without a mom into the center, their mortality rate is incredibly high. So just because you don't see a mom there doesn't mean that she's not there. They often leave their kittens so they can go and eat and find nutrition that way. Also find better places to have the kittens and take them there. So we're urging individuals just to leave them be. And it's the same thing that El Paso's doing. And I got the idea from others throughout the country that are doing the same Facebook messaging. This is a breakdown, another one requested by the board last board meeting, and it was really looking at our sick and injured and our euthanasia of what was done. And then it was also requested as what would our live release rate be without having to euthanize the sick and the injured that were coming to us specifically because of this. And so it would be 84.7% is what Bernice found there. Those are some totals broken down for you. And it's pretty much the same slide that we were looking at, but with the total of the animals that were done. So again, the hot spot or the highest one is those feral cats that are coming in. It's 40 there just alone.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Allens.
Clint, under the medical respiratory, what does TX mean?
That means treatment. That means they've gotten under treatment and they didn't respond to treatment. So you'll see about 3 more down from that. It says non-TX, so that's non-treatment. So they were just so far gone that we decided not to try treating them. We euthanized them for that.
So, but the TX means you tried to treat them, but it didn't succeed.
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner. Director Thacker, so behavior timid was euthanized, a dog. Why would a timid dog be euthanized? What are the problems there
Well, timid could be a number of things. The thing underneath it is timid fear biter, so that's a specific reason. Because you know that the animals have a fight or flight
response?
Yeah, thank you. Fight or flight response. And so that's more specific, but timid could be anything besides that. They cower in the corner. It's just not a very highly adoptable thing. And when we're looking at the amount of space that we have, where we don't want to get back into warehousing animals like we were before, then this is unfortunately a decision that we have to make, where not highly or not adoptable rescues. I mean, these are animals that have already gone through rescues, choosing them, and they don't want them. So it's hard decisions we have to make all the way around.
Heartbreaking. Thank you. It's kind of sad. Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Madam Chair, this is Commissioner Sanchez.
Yes, Commissioner Sanchez.
I just wanted to tell Mr. Thacker, I think it's very interesting to take a look at the data and seeing where we're at and where you're outside of the medical issues that, like you're saying here, that it's interesting to see what the data shows. And I appreciate you taking that the time to pull together this information for us.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Clint.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Allens.
Clint, you had some Parvo non-treatments there. And do we not try to attack the Parvo, or do we just assume it's non-treatable?
Well, we do an incredible job with our Parvo dogs that come down with clinical signs of it. Oftentimes they come to us from the public with Parvo, and if it's too far gone or too far down the way, our veterinarian says that we can't even try for that. So yeah, those, again, the non-treatment means that they're so far gone in the virus that has attacked them that there's not really a reason to try.
But otherwise, we try to cure the problem.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And we're very successful at it as well. So visitors, again, 622 is compared to the outstanding, incredible number of 2,973 in August. Again, remember that we are doing appointments only during this COVID time. Only 2 people allowed at a time. And they have to have the animals selected that they want to view before they even step into the building. So it's a very much slimmed down and more of a pinpoint attack rather than the spread out shotgun approach we were doing before. So the 622 is actually a really good number that we have there.
And Clint.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Mr. Allens.
Clint, does that result in more adoptions because we're targeting?
Yeah, it's a hard one to say because on the slides going back, we had less adoptions this month than we did, as you can see, in 2019. However, we also had a lot more animals available for adoption back in 2019, twice as many. So we'd like to do a percentage comparison of that and see where we're at. But looking at just the numbers, you'd say, wow, yeah, that is a lot less. However, the staff's time is a lot better used because we're not walking individuals through and then people aren't saying, okay, well, thank you very much, and then they leave. like they're doing before. When our staff walks somebody through, they've already ID'd the animal they want to look at, and they're already interested in adopting that animal. So we're able to, it's a much more exact process. A lot less time is wasted.
All right, I have tried to figure out how to track the animals on Facebook. I will call you and you'll walk me through it.
Yeah, you need to go to our website. Facebook won't let you do it. You got to go to our ASCMV.org.
Oh, okay. I thought it was a Facebook program.
Thank you, Mr. Allens, and thank you, Clint. Yeah, I too had a similar question. I think that without doing the actual math on it, you can see that the percentage is going to be much higher insofar as the adoption ratio vis-a-vis the drop-ins. So it almost seems that those 2,000 plus visitors were almost like taking a field trip or something. And, let's go visit, that gives us something to do today. It's not
And really it was, yeah, it was families coming, and they would put, we had a section on there that says how many in your party, and they would mark everybody down.
Yeah.
So now it's limited to the 2 that are coming.
Yeah, the ones who are serious about adopting. So I think the ratio is going to be higher. And as you stated, far more efficient insofar as staff time is, how it's used. Thank you. Thank you for that.
So the next slide is something that was also requested by the board, and it was a great idea. Our total website views in August was 43,421. So Bernice and I are mind boggled about this, and we asked our Wilson Binkley contact who does our website to explain. And it was explained that this is not website views, this is page views. So somebody will come to the website and the first page they see is a view. And if they click on to see a dog, that's another view. If they click on to see another dog, that's another view. If they go to a page and look at maybe, our annual stats, that's another view. So one person may be responsible for 10, 15 different views if they look at 10, 15 dogs. That's why that number is so high. However, it's still a really high number, which is really good. We're getting a lot of page views for the animals, and it shows that people are going to our website to view the animals. And not only for what was adopting or what they can adopt, but also to find their lost animal, which is what we want. We want them ID'd before they come to the center. So our total Facebook views, this one's different. We had 2,591 between August 5th and September 1st. And it has to be that weird date set because of the way Facebook does their numbers recording. We're not sure why, but it doesn't go by first and the first. But that's a really good number. People are looking at what we're posting, and we're looking at continue to improve that number by doing our radio ads are starting up on the 21st. They've started. Right now it's for our drive-through clinic. And then after that, after the 28th, it's going to be starting on just the center. And it talks about a good professional being a responsible pet owner. And it has a guy on there that it's like, dude, you adopted this pet. You need to take responsibility for it. Go get shots and go get it neutered. And so it's a great message. So in conclusion, I want to remind you all that we're doing the annual drive-through vaccine clinic. It's going to be on Sunday, September 27th, 9 to 1 p.m. We're going to be at the Tail Shower 12 parking lot. A special thanks to Allen Theater Group that's letting us use their building. It's right next to the old Kmart that's there. So we're going to go around Kmart and then the back of the building, back of the theater, and then come around the front where we'll do our vaccines and microchipping, and then they can exit there on the main road. So we are excited for this one. We've learned a lot from our last two. If you remember, we did over 1,000 vaccines at our last one that was at the stadium at NMSU parking lot. So we're looking to do that, if not more. This was interesting. I polled our staff wondering if people would be or if workers would be interested in going. I thought they wouldn't due to COVID and those precautions, but everybody was astounding. Yes, let's do it. All of us were going to be in our proper garb or PPE, snow protection. We're going to have face masks. We're doing a little bit different. We're not going to be reaching in the car. We're going to have all dogs need to be required to be on a leash. And then we're going to pull the dog out. We're going to give it its vaccine, and then we're going to give the leash back to its owner, and the owner is responsible to getting the dog back in. We're not doing cats, so we don't have the exposure of having to reach in and put all of our body into the cars. And we also don't have a safe, contained place to do cats at, because for some reason cats don't like to be stuck with needles as much as dogs do. So they have a tendency to react a little bit. And so we need a safe place for that, and we don't have it right now. So we're not allowing cats in, but a leashed dog and masks are required for social distancing. So that's our presentation. Thank you very much. I'll entertain any questions.
And thank you, Mr. Thacker, for your presentation. Any questions for Quint?
Madam Chair.
Madam Chair.
Yes. Yes, Abeta Stuvi, Council Abeta Stuvi.
Thank you. And thank you, Clint, for all this information. I did, as you were talking, I wrote quite a few questions down during this time. So we're going back to the beginning still with some of these.
Okay.
Under your numbers for one of the dogs that was returned, and it was labeled, it was returned due to aggressive nature. Was this a dog, do we know, that had any sort of issues beforehand that was reported? If it was...
I would have to find out which animal it is and get back to you on that. Would you like that?
That would be great. Thank you. Okay. And then another one very similar to Commissioner Ellen's. Do we treat ringworm? I know that one it can take a long while to treat. We've unfortunately had, I always say we had the worst possible case of ringworm to ever happen to a family or animal, and it took a very long time, and everybody was on medication, including the adults. So I know that it can be very difficult, but is that something that we are trying to do at all, or?
Yes, we do. We treat very aggressively on ringworm. We used to be getting it like crazy from the public. Animals coming in with, round spots of hairless areas on tips of ears and things. And it's died down significantly, but we still get it. And then the chemical that we chose to clean with specifically kills ringworm. We chose that for a reason too. And it even has a higher concentrate that we can use to be more aggressive towards ringworm. So we have a special ringworm ward. Try saying that 10 times fast. And so these animals, they do have, where they're still available for adoption even when they're in this. A lot of people think that ringworm is this horrible thing that is a worm that crawls in and does horrible things to you. It's just a fungus. Common athlete's foot medicine can kill it. It's just a matter of being vigilant and applying it and doing all that. So, but yes, we do treat them.
Okay. And so for the 4 medical euthanasias that we had for ringworm here, were they too far gone then with the ringworm?
Yeah, ringworm can also get to the point where, I don't know if it's a case, I'd have to look into the specifics on those, but I can tell you that sometimes we get so many ringworm animals that we need to make space for those. So we have to make the tough decisions about this one's really, really bad, and do we euthanize this bad one so we can get this one that's not so bad better? So I'm sure that's what those 4 are, but I can look into those too.
Okay. And just looking into processes and everything, as you said, technically on one end, we are much lower on our intakes right now and our status in the shelter, which is really good, and we want to see those lower numbers. But we are having these conversations still about making those tough decisions on having to euthanize for space. So if you can talk to me about how we're doing that balance, since we do have those lower numbers at the shelter, are we giving, extra days, during this time, or what does that process look like?
It's a great question, Counselor, and we are continually looking at the value of care. What type of medical care is this animal going to be able to get from us versus another animal that does not need that medical care? So we continue to look at that. It's an everyday, unfortunately, process that we have to go through. This animal is very sick. We've tried the different treatments. Do we continue to house this animal? Yes, we may have space. We may have an available kennel, but do we continue to house it when I can fit 2 more animals, one in, where it came from, and then one in the other kennel where we were going to put the animal? I think our kennel managers and assistant managers do an excellent job of making those calls. They include our veterinarian when they have to make those unfortunate calls to euthanize those animals. We are currently not euthanizing any healthy animal. This is for space, and not even healthy animals, period. There's always a reason why, whether it be aggression or sickness or injury. So it's a tough one. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, partly. And like I said, I know this is as a personal person, I say, I wish we didn't have to do any at all, but I understand, when we talk about it as doing best care for either the animals, others in the, we have to really look at all those factors.
Yeah.
And so with that in mind, as we're intaking more sick animals, high needs, perhaps those that have had some sort of behavioral issue, and they're the ones at the shelter, how does that look like for adoptions? Because I would assume that these might be animals that have a higher perhaps percentage or issue with perhaps being returned because of people don't necessarily understand those true perhaps care needs, or like we saw, if there's aggressive issues, they think they can handle it and maybe, they can't do training right away. So how does that look? Because I do worry just a wee bit that as we have more special need animals, they are going to be harder to adopt, I think, to a lot of families.
That's a great question. Again, I think the rescues that we work with do an excellent job, incredible job of taking these animals that are higher risk like this. You'll see APA, Action Program for Animals, is the local group. They do incredible by taking a lot of our small kittens, the ones that have upper respiratory issues. They also take a lot of our dogs that have these same, some are aggression, some is like food aggression, very, very easily. It sounds a lot worse than it is. That can be done. We had a veterinarian just last week from East Lomond step up and say, we saw a dog on your Facebook, and we'd like to not only pay for the surgeries or the care it's going to need, excuse me, but they also were going to foster it for us for a while. So a lot of these animals that you're seeing coming up are being taken care of. I would say that our low intake, and if you look at the slide that's on there, I mean, we're talking single digits for all these animals that are coming in that we're euthanizing, and that is just incredible that we're able to do that.
Fantastic. Thank you. And, just as we go through, I just think we have to communicate very clearly to the public or anybody interested in one of these animals about, if it is a medical issue, what that entails, or, if they have a behavioral issue, just to make that hopefully owner very, very aware of what the true responsibility of this animal might be, and so that we avoid any of those returns.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair,
You're on mute, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Councilor Beta-Stuvey. Thank you, Clint, for your thorough replies. They were excellent questions, Tessa. And Commissioner Allens?
And on the drive-by vaccination program, how are you advertising it? And secondly, is there any way for you to measure the expected response?
So we're advertising via radio. That started on the 21st, and it's on those radio stations. I think there's 4 of them that we presented to you last quarter or last meeting on the media plan. There also went out on Facebook. It's on Dog Cruces. It's on our Facebook. And it's being spread everywhere by all these people that are sharing it and liking it. And then we also have animal control officers. The city was given some flyers, so they're going to be passing them out and recommending individuals who don't have the vaccines when they stop and talk to them. Here's a flyer. This is a great place to do it. I mean, $10 a vaccine, you can't beat that. And then to gauge the response, the first one we did 2 years ago, it was about a year ago now, that we totally underestimated the city of Las Cruces. We had a poor location, and we had to turn people away. The second one, we're much more prepared. We did not run out of vaccines. We had to turn people away because it was the end of the clinic, and it was a great response. Again, this one, we're expecting the same. I can't really gauge just by doing media and things like that. It's mostly just from experience. And like I said, last time we did over 1,000 vaccines. So we're looking to do the same for that. And so in combat that, we have more staff that's going to be working it. And we also expanded a little bit the line so it'll move better, more flow to it, we hope.
And presumably we're doing the same depth of PR this time as we did the last 2 times.
Yes, we are. All of our PR, we're mentioning it. I know our Pet of the Week went out and she mentioned it. Whether they decide to play it or not, that's something different. But I know that the radio stations I listen to, they treat us really well and mention us all the time. So.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Allens, and thank you, Director Thacker. Are there any other questions for Mr. Thacker? Thank you again. Next is the committee reports. Finance, Mr. Dollahan.
Madam Chair, David Dollahan for the record. I'm going to turn it over to Josh Saffel, who is one of the city attorneys. And Josh, some of you will know, he was our former accountant. He had never left the city. He just didn't work for Animal Service Center. So we're glad to have Josh back. And that's pretty much, we're only going to cover financials this month. We didn't have any discussion at the Finance Committee other than going over the monthly financials. Thank you, Madam Chair.
And thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Josh Saffel, and on behalf of the Finance Department of the City of Las Cruces, I'd like to present the unaudited financials for August 2020. So if we go to our first page, we're looking at our statement of net position. And we see in the general fund, we had cash of $645,065, total receivables of $89,541, which gave us total assets of $734,000. We had liabilities of $64,374, revenues collected in advance from several grants of $51,750. That left us with an unassigned fund balance of $618,482 in the general fund. The capital projects fund, we have cash of $31,565. That is made up of two contributions. One is for the Stern Cat Room, that's still remaining balance of $3,000. And then there was $28,000 that was transferred from the general fund at the end of last year that's still in that fund. And then we had in the capital assets fund, we have total capital assets net of depreciation of $223,989.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Ellens?
Yeah, I've never quite understood why revenues collected in advance is a liability. Could you explain that?
The reason why revenues collected in advance is considered a liability is because we've collected the revenue, but we have a responsibility to perform certain actions to expend it a certain way. If we don't expend it that way, then the money has to be returned. So we consider it a liability until the expenditures actually occur in line with the grant.
Okay, so that's grant money for a specific purpose. Thank you.
Commissioner? And thank you, Mr. Saffel. You may proceed.
Thank you.
Were you thrown off by the question?
No, not at all. I just wanted to make sure there wasn't anything else.
Okay.
So we move to our next page, change in net position for all funds. In the general fund, we see we have total revenues of $749,655 and total expenditures of $306,673. So we had a positive net change to our fund balance of $442,982. And neither of the other two funds had any activity through August. Looking at the budget to actual change in net position, our total revenues of $749,000 were at 22.3% of the budget, and our total expenditures of $306,000 were at 9.3%. Our budget parameter is 16.67, so we noticed that the majority of expenditures were under that. The only one that was above was all other expenditures at 22.4, and that's due to insurance premiums being paid in advance.
Okay.
Now we look at our revenues and expenditures, our trend graph. We see the first month, of course, we had that 22% donation from the city and the county to provide for cash flow. After that, we see that the revenue has dropped to where revenue is only $188,000 and expenses $183,000. So they're almost equal, but revenue is slightly higher at this time. Then we look at our percentage of total expenditures. Total expenditures, again, were $306,673. Of that, personnel expenses made up 77% of that number. Services made up 14% of that number. And insurance made up 5%, with supplies at 3% and other at 1%. Are there any questions?
Are there any questions? I don't see any. I can't see the hands. Does anyone have his or her hand raised? Well, thank you very much, Mr. Schaffel. Very concise and to the point. Thank you. Is that your cat? Was that your cat on there?
No, that was the pet of the week.
Oh, pet of the week. Perdón. Gracias. Okay, thank you. So next is the committee reports, the executive committee report, and that would be me. And we actually covered everything in this meeting that we discussed. We met, I believe it was last Friday, and Commissioner Ellens, Commissioner Sanchez, Director Clint Thacker, and I. And there are I think the only thing that Clint didn't cover in today's meeting is that he talked about the adoption. He reviewed or reported today on the adoptions on the online viewing, and he reported the Facebook numbers that were requested at the last board meeting. And he also said that the report on the lobby is being, the report is to the lobby, the status of the lobby is that it's being arranged. So by the end of October, there will be a contractor that will be contracted to have it all rearranged. Mr. Thacker, is there anything else you want to add insofar as, or is there anything to report insofar as a new veterinarian or anything? Is there anything in process in that regard?
All of our job vacancies, we met on Tuesday, the managers did, and discussed our multiple job vacancies we have. We are moving forward with posting those, and hopefully they'll be filled here within the next month.
Okay, and there's nothing else to report in that regard
I don't think so.
at this time? Okay,
Thank
great.
you.
And thank you. Mr. Thacker, you have sent a request to all the veterinarians area insofar as the opening for the veterinarian?
Yes, and we had another veterinarian that is interested in doing it.
Yes.
And we're talking about doing surgeries for our foster to adopt and foster animals. So we have one that's currently signed on. Everything is looking great. We've had our first surgery date with them was last week. We still have some wrinkles to iron out as always. Sure. And then another veterinarian contacted us last week and would like to be doing it. So we're following up with them this week. So great news.
Great. Yes, great news. Thank you so much for reporting that. And next is the facilities report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Cassandra Gandara for the record. We met first Thursday of the month, and it just feels like eons ago. So Clint, you're going to have to help me. But we spoke of the renovation, where we were at. I think we saw issues with some window panes that need to be corrected. I know that Clint had conversations with the person in charge, the manager, the
facilities manager. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, and they've come up with some suggestions, I think, in terms. So Clint, help me. I'm sorry, I went for looking for my notes and I'm like struggling this morning. Sorry.
No, you're fine. It's back in our observation room. We have a frame that has a window where the moisture is built up. So the seal in between the two pieces of glass have actually gone bad. So there's moisture in there. Our veterinarian would like that replaced for good reason. So we had a contract done, the contractor come out and do a bid. The bid stated that we're gonna have to remove, it's in a cement metal frame. So it was a lot of money. It was over, I wanna say like $3,500, somewhere in there for them to do that. So we got another quote from another contractor, and they came in a little bit lower, and they also had a better idea of how to fix that metal frame than just removing it and putting a new one in. So we've submitted both quotes to Eric. Eric Martin is the facilities director for the city. Because it is a city building is the reason why we're working with that. So yeah, we hope to move forward on that.
Thanks, Clint. And just an update on the new building. Things are rocking and rolling in terms of, right, Clint, we're in step with deadlines for design. Yes.
We actually had like 2 weeks ago, this was right after our meeting, of course. And this is what Chair Flores was saying, Chairwoman Flores, that the main lobby, we moved things a little bit to give more room in the front counter area for our staff. And so the architects did a great job of hearing our request. They shifted some walls, and so we just need to get those done into the final construction plans. And we hope to be going out to bid here in the next month or so.
Thank you, Clint. It's fabulous. We're so excited about the new facility. And just to let people know, you go on our website, on our GeoBond projects, there's a dashboard. You can see exactly where every project is at, and follow it specific to the Animal Services Board. Thanks for covering me today and carrying me, Clint. I appreciate it. I'll do better in taking better notes and knowing where to go for those notes. Appreciate
You
it.
did fantastic.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Gandara. You did great. So I have a question. Yes, Commissioner Ellens.
Mayor Pro Tem, I have to apologize. I didn't attend the meeting because I forgot about it.
All right. Next Thursday, at first Thursday of the month, 8:30.
Oh, I had it calendared. I just didn't look at
did.
my calendar that morning.
I hear you. I know. I get it. I get it.
Yep. Yeah.
Thanks. Thank you, everybody.
And thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. And thank you so much, Clint, for being on top of everything. I know that as far as our new facility goes, we're definitely under time. It's moving beautifully and quickly, and part of it is driven by the fact that there are geo bonds that have to be expended by a certain date. And I was wondering about the artwork, the public art. I haven't, the city art board hadn't been meeting because of, and then there was a change in the chair there and everything like that, but hadn't been meeting. And then when it did meet, I was out of country. So do either one of you know anything about that, about how that's coming along?
We do have a percentage of the actual construction that has to go towards artwork.
Correct.
There has been no real plans yet that I know of discussed about what specific we're going to have, but I look forward to doing so.
Okay, yeah, so there's a certain percentage, and I remember, I can't remember the amount, but it's sizable enough to do some really beautiful work. And I know that I attended meetings. I did attend the meetings where there was just in-depth discussion as to the location and then what the department would, what the center would want. Because these discussions were also held with the fire department because of the new facility going up on Valley, the new fire station. So anyway, thank you so much, Mayor Pro Tem, and thank you, Mr. Thacker.
Madam Chair, as a follow-up,
Yes.
how is the artist selected?
Mr. Chairman, Madam Chair, Commissioner Ellens, may I speak to that?
Yes, thank you, David. I know that it comes from the, well, go on, please proceed.
Because I assume it's sort of like a bid process.
It is through a competitive selection process. It's not really a bid. We do a call for artists to provide proposals to the city's art board. And there's a subcommittee of the art board that usually consists of artists and staff from facilities. And in the case of the Animal Service Center, it will involve animal service staff that will evaluate the proposals. And then they will finalize it down to a couple of 2 or 3, depending on how many we get. And they will make a recommendation to the art board. And then the art board makes the recommendation to the city council, and the final decision resides with city council. And we haven't started that process yet for any of the geo bond projects. They've set aside funding. And so that's what we'll do next. COVID has impacted us, but we're just now at, I think, 90% construction drawing review, if I remember correctly, Clint. And so that's underway. So that will lead us to the bidding process. And once you have final design drawings, then you can look at art pieces either in the parking lot, similar to what was done in Mesa, or art pieces throughout the public spaces of the building or on the site.
Thank you, Mr. Dollahan. After all these years, I've been mispronouncing your name, David. I'm so sorry. But in the meetings for the City Art Board, there was thorough discussion as to that selection process. I'm glad you asked Commissioner Ellens. And there was a concern about there was a vast concern in not excluding anybody, and apparently that selection process is being really looked at and revamped to assure that no artist who is interested, especially our local artists, is excluded from being a part of that selection in that pool of artists who are to be selected, who is to be selected, an artist who is to be selected, and yes, and some of the discussions as to of what kind of art would go there is absolutely wonderful. And I think that Clinton has sat in on some of those meetings too, if I recall. It's been so long since we met. At any rate, thank you very much, Mr. Dallahan. And shall we move on to the next item? It's a CFPP report. Is there anybody to report on that?
Madam Chair, Jean Gilbert is on, and I think Bernice is going to share her screen and
Okay.
she talk through.
Jean, you'll just need to unmute yourself. We gave you permission. If you're unable, try hitting *6 on your phone to unmute yourself.
Can anybody see the presentation?
No,
Not
we
yet.
can just see your name. Well, I can see Manny now. Full screen.
Surprise.
Okay. So there it is. I have it.
Okay.
Is Jean on the line?
She is, but she's muted.
How can she, and you told her to push, *6 on her phone?
Let me see if I can call her real quick. One second. Let me try getting hold of her.
Thank you.
While we're kind of waiting for that, Bernice, in her infinite wisdom, she went and got me, Councilor Stue, the form for the aggressive animal that was returned. And you can hear me, right? I'm not just talking to myself.
Yes, no, we can hear you, but you might as well talk to yourself. We're all falling asleep now. I'm just
I've done that before. I was just sitting here talking, and I look up, and somebody else is just going at it. So,
no.
Looks like the animal was adopted or came in as a stray. So we didn't know anything about it. And then it was adopted on the 14th of August and returned on the 16th because the dog growled at her kids. And then it looks like the dog is back here at our center and is being held to go out to a rescue organization. So we had no former knowledge that the animal could be aggressive.
Thank you, Clint. I appreciate you. And thank you, Bernice, for getting that information.
Yeah, you know, we're a firm believer of the value of 3 here. That's 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months. And we tell all of our adopters, try to have the animal in there for 3 days. Let it get used to you and your family. 3 weeks, we'll let it get used to how you go about functioning during the day, and it can get used to what to expect. And then 3 months, it should be part of the family by that time. And I mean, 2 days is not near enough time for that dog to adjust to how the family works and things. So I understand, being a father myself, and I'm sure many of us being mothers and fathers have that nervous tendencies, but I really wish they would have given the dog more. But the dog gets a second chance. Well, hopefully the rescue group will take it and they'll have a good life somewhere else.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Thacker.
Madam Chair, I have Jean on my speakerphone. See if maybe you could hear her through my phone.
Oh, okay,
Go
hopefully,
ahead, Jean.
Okay, can you hear me?
yes,
Good.
we can hear you.
Sounds like you can. Sorry for all the technical problems. I seem to have this every time when I do it from home. Thank
Oh,
you.
no worries. Thank you, June.
Here's the list of organizations that are represented in this month's report, and groups that aren't listed will be in the October report. Okay, if I could have the next slide, please. Next slide, please. Thank you. This is a short list of the coalition's work for August and September supporting area organizations. Rick Hahn and I both represented the coalition at the August 28th task force by Zoom. And I met with Emily Muir, who's the Animal Services Volunteer Coordinator, earlier this month to discuss HSNM's Ally and Education offer, which is $50 towards a shelter pets adoption for 3 participants who view the online animal stories at the Humane Society's website. And I'll tell you more about that program next month when HSSNM is featured. Rick and I met, Rick is the chair of the coalition, and I met with Star Snyder and Monica Arvin, who are animal service volunteers. They do foster, and they're advocates who network for shelter animals to find them homes and rescues and transporters. Other work of the coalition, which is noted in the 3rd and 4th bullets, are ongoing and include weekly promotion of the Animal Services Pet of the Week. We, when we share the shelter's posts, we oftentimes include input to elicit exchange from the community. I'm Almost Home Animal Rescue is based in El Paso and serves this area as well. Out of 50 dogs transported recently on the Pet Pilot rescue flight that went out of Las Cruces, coordinated by Kelly Barker with Uncaged Paws, 90% of those animals, mom dogs and puppies, were from Diane Avery, who's the director of I'm Almost Home Animal Rescue. And they also recently purchased a transport bus for their ground transport trips, which they do on a weekly basis. Thank you. Next slide, please. The Las Cruces Dog Park is located at 430 North Hermosa, south of the Mearshide Center, and the park reopened mid-June. Kevin Armstrong is the president of the dog park, and he reports that social distancing has been easy to maintain there. City Parks and Recs does a power washing of the park intermittently, while the dog park members maintain the cleanliness of the park with monthly wash downs. You can see a photo of 2 dogs here that were playing at the park recently. And in addition to the services that dog park members provide for the community maintaining the park, they also advocate for individual animals like this shelter dog, the Sharpei mix, in need of a home. I hope that dog got a home. Okay, next slide, please. The Las Cruces Pet Network, Randy Meyer is the primary person who sends email notices to the large distribution list regarding animals in need, like these 2 dogs who faced relinquishment recently by their owner due to personal hardship. The objective of the Pet Network is to help animals bypass the shelter by finding the resources they need through community efforts. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. And this is Window Wags which is a program that's being launched by the Donana Communities United and the Mesilla Valley Time Bank, whereby people with dogs visit residents of care centers and other facilities with window visits. This window WAG's announcement was sent to animal advocates by the Pet Network. Next slide, please. Forever Home's Animal Rescue is home-based in Alamogordo and assists animals in southern New Mexico. Jamie Jones is the Las Cruces representative. Forever Home's Animal Rescue transported over 50 dogs during August and about as many in the month of July to rescues in New Mexico, Arizona, Texas, Colorado, and other states. So far this year, they have pulled 40 dogs from, including these two pictures, from the Animal Services Center and assisted in finding them forever homes through rescue, transport, foster, and adoption.
Madam Chair,
Next slide, please.
Yes, Mr. Ellens?
Jeannie, does that transport include air transport, or is that just land transport?
Yes, and in the end here you'll see a slide on Uncaged Paws. They are the ones that do the flights for the animals. And you guys have a breakdown of the different flights and transport by Uncaged Paws in the board member packet. There have been quite a few flights and quite a few animals transported out that way so far this year, which I think is truly remarkable. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, Safe Haven Animal Sanctuary held a virtual fundraiser recently featuring a couple talented musicians. And in addition to these efforts, Safe Haven operates a popular thrift store here in town that generates revenue to support their sanctuary, which is located on the East Mesa. Pictured is Chiquita, who was adopted recently, and she is one of 13 animals who found homes this year through Safe Haven's adoption program. Next slide, please. This is Spay Neuter Action Program, and pictured in the center is Julie Miller. She's the president of SNAP, with SNAP staff members Sue Daly to the front, and Rachel Snow is pictured at the back. For July 25th through September the 16th, SNAP issued 187 spay-neuter vouchers to area residents with pets. And they sent 527 applications with the phone interviews they conducted. A breakdown in the voucher and application numbers by city and county are provided in your packets. And this information we're very grateful for was all supplied by Julie Miller. And next slide, please. Mr. Ellens, you were asking about flights. Well, here, this is the slide now that we're going to address air transport for animals. And this is Uncaged Paws. Pictured center left is Kelly Barker, who is the director of Uncaged Paws, and Diane Avery is pictured right. She's the director of I'm Almost Home Animal Rescue. And they are pictured here with volunteers offloading animals from their respective organizations. This was an August 28th flight with pet pilot rescues that went out of the Las Cruces Airport. Over 170 animals have been transported by air for August and September up to today's date through Kelly Barker's Uncaged Paws efforts, El Paso Animal Services, and Diane Avery with I'm Almost Home. Through all their efforts, which, as I said earlier, I think is truly remarkable. More information on these flights is provided in your packets, And there'll be a couple more upcoming flights. Perhaps it's more than two, but the two that I know about are being coordinated by Uncaged Paws, and they're scheduled. One is scheduled for this Monday, September the 28th, and another one is scheduled for October the 5th. And just one more slide. Today, September the 24th, is Remember Me Thursday. And it's a day when the entire world will share the importance of pet adoption and shine a light on all orphan animals that are waiting in shelters and rescues. And in 2017, people who used this hashtag, Remember Me Thursday, and posted this on Facebook and various media, nearly 330 million people were reached. Pictured is actress Jenny Garth, who is this year's spokesperson for Remember Me Thursday. And there have been past celebrities for this occasion, which have included Jackson Galaxy, who hosts a TV program on Animal Planet and is a renowned expert on felines. The coalition is encouraging everyone to get the word out about Remember Me Thursday and promote adoption of rescue animals from our shelter and area rescue groups. That's the end of the coalition's presentation. Does anyone have any questions?
Are there any questions for Jane?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Yes, Councilor Bay-Destuvi.
Thank you. Thank you, Jean, for showing all and telling us of all these amazing groups. I had a couple questions in regards to the programming that takes the dogs to walk in front of the, I guess, the congregate settings. And I don't know if we can go back to that slide.
I guess I'm not sure what you're referencing.
Yes, the window wags, Las Cruces window wags. And that was slide 6, it looked like. And so is this programming, does it walk, is it in neighborhoods? Is it by the congregate settings, like, the nursing homes?
Oh, this one, window wags. I see what you mean, yes. I don't know that it is fully launched yet, and I am in the process of finding out because I've referred therapists, people, and different animal advocates for it. But yes, it would be, here that you see in the cartoon that people have their heads out the window. No, that won't happen. The people will be behind the window and people will come up to the window. And it's my understanding it'd be places like Good Sam and various other care centers here in Las Cruces.
Okay, so I take it they're still working out the details on.
They are. I think they are, and I need to follow up and find out. Thank you for asking.
Okay, and just, and Good Sam is in my area. We know that it's been one of the hardest impacted congregate settings in the area. And so I know on one hand, I said, oh, this would be wonderful to kind of lift up spirits. And I also just want to make sure that everybody's taking all of those safety precautions very seriously when they're even on those properties, just because it's just such a high risk group. So,
absolutely, and I know that they'll be coordinating it with the different centers and we'll be following their protocols. And even outdoors, there'll be social distancing, even if there's, I don't know how many pet owners with their dogs, they're going to be distanced, and so it won't be any groups getting together.
Fantastic. And good and bad things, with your line of work, I mean, the reality is you're having to go and interact with different people at perhaps a higher level than some. When you transport and handle animals, you're having to get very close together. So, I hope everybody's taking care, staying and everything. So thank you. And thank you, Madam Chair.
And thank you, Councilor Vegas-Stubbe. Thank you, Ms. Gilbert. Thank you so much for your presentation and for all the work you do. Thank you.
And I want to thank Mr. Disman for helping me so I could use the speakerphone. Thanks again.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. So our next item on the agenda is discussion items. Yes, I'm sorry. Oh. Who is it? Cassandra?
It is.
Mayor Pro Tem. It's Mayor Pro Tem Cassandra, yes.
I just wanted to add a little more about the program from Community Action. Doniana Community United. I have to start like that to remember it.
DACU.
DACU. I think it's important to bring Carrie Bachman in to speak about the program. I'm very encouraged with the time banking program in lots of different ways. And if you're not familiar with the time banking program and don't belong to the time banking program, you should reach out. We should probably have a presentation, but this is a time banking program, is sort of an international component to many third world countries that barter sort of their talents, treasures with one another, and they keep the time, they keep the hours, and so when photographer, because I'm not very good at it, but I do painting really well, I can barter the time against it. So I think being able to do this with the congregate care, I think is facilities and or I'm not sure if these are folks, but I see that as a win-win and something that I'd like to see further presentation on, but I wasn't sure if Councilor Abeyta-Stubbe was completely aware of what DACU did. But had presentations in the past, and in fact, we have funded them as part of our COVID. And so I think it'd be helpful to have a presentation in the future about that particular program and how we can support it.
I think it's a great idea. That'd be great. Maybe we can have her early next year, because we have to talk, excuse me, we have to talk about our meetings in November and December, and they fall on holidays. I ran up to look at the calendar because somehow I don't, anyway. So are there any, so I finally have my participants up. Are there, I don't see any hands up. So unless, I think that Mayor Pro Tem Gandara mentioned something about Councilor Abeyta-Stubbe addressing something, or?
Madam Chair, if I may, we need to stay on topic on the discussion items, and then public input, and then chair and board comments. So we need to have that.
Yeah, okay, so yes, we are on discussion items, and so I see what you're saying. So the comment that, the suggestion that Mayor Pro Tem Gandara made should have been under item 7, which is chair and board comments, correct? Would that have been appropriate there?
Yes, ma'am, but we can just move on with the agenda.
Let's move on with the agenda, and the agenda item 5 is discussion items, A, November and December board meeting dates.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Clint Thacker, Executive Director.
Yes.
We put this on the agenda. Bernice and I noticed that it was November falls on the 27th, which is, or I'm sorry, the 26th, which is the day before
Thanksgiving.
It is Thanksgiving. And then the next month, December, it falls on the 24th, which is Christmas Eve. So I'd probably like to entertain we move them to the week before, not the week after, because it's New Year's Eve in December for the week after, so that probably wouldn't work. So it'd be December 17th is the week before, and November 19th is the week before in November.
That might present a problem for a lot of us who have a zillion things on our calendars. And I know that weeks 3 and 4 are heavily scheduled for me and presumably for other counselors and other people who participate in this meeting. How feasible would that be? Do you have any idea, Mr. Dollahan?
Say that again, Madam Chair.
I beg your pardon?
Can you repeat your question again? Sorry, I had.
The question would be the recommendation or suggestion that Mr. Thacker has made that our November meetings be moved to the third Thursday of the month as opposed to the standing fourth.
You can do that. I was looking at my calendar and I have them on that date for November 19th and 17th of December on my calendar. I think we just need minute action today, if that's the date.
Well, we understand that, Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's trying to align all of our schedules, Mr. Dollahan, and that particular Thursday, we may possibly have a South Central Solid Waste Authority board meeting. I'm not sure. Mr. Ellens, Commissioner Ellens, do we have that? I have it on my calendar, but not sure what they've been doing them so sporadically. Not sure if that's going to happen or not.
And if we wanted to, we could do it late. I think South Central meets in the morning. We could do an afternoon meeting.
The afternoon, I have the Airport Advisory Board at 12:30.
Madam Chair,
On the 19th of November, and then, excuse me, Mr. Ellens, then on the 17th, yeah, that's my standing meeting in the afternoon.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Mr. Ellens.
Wednesdays seem to be a day with fewer meetings in general. So instead of doing it on the Thursdays in November, December, why don't we just do it on the Wednesdays? That still gives the Finance Committee adequate time to report.
Well, I know that my December 16 calendar is full. And then my...
I mean, that's our Econ Development, PRC.
Correct.
So,
Commissioner,
I'm talking about December 23rd and November 25th.
You're talking about, you're talking about Tuesday? You're talking about
the Wednesday before the usual Thursday, which would be November 25th and December 23rd.
How does that look on everybody else's schedule for those 2 days? Or do they look like they're days that are maybe impinging on travel to be with family or having made plans to do otherwise? I mean, I don't know. Those are busy. That's a really busy week. I mean, those days before holidays are, but I'll defer to, I might be out of town in December, quite frankly.
And for the city councilors on the meeting, we try to cancel the work session that week of the week of Thanksgiving and the week of Christmas so that you have time to travel and visit family if you should so choose. So, because we're about half staff those weeks anyway, because a lot of people take time off between the two holidays. So that week's generally tough. And we give you the Monday off for that reason.
Great. Thank you for that information, Mr. Dollahan.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Councilor Beta Stubbe.
would this be for, it's November the 25th or is November the 23rd?
November Commissioner Ellens was proposing November 25th, the Wednesday, and December 23rd, the Wednesday before what would be the a regular holiday.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dollahan. If it's in the morning, then that's acceptable. In the afternoon, I am chairing the Quality of Life PRCs.
For both those days?
On that one and, yeah, and the 23rd. Yeah, both of those times.
Yeah. Well, folks.
The 19th in the afternoon on November.
When are you available?
How about November 19th in the afternoon instead of the morning?
That's acceptable.
On November 19th, actually, November 19th on my calendar, it is tentatively here. It's probably on all of our calendars at this point as tentative. I have the airport advisory. Perdón, take that back. What were you recommending, Mayor Pro Tem, on the 18th in the morning?
17th.
Oh,
in the afternoon.
November 17th.
Yes.
November 17 is.
I'm sorry. November 19th in the afternoon and December 17th in the afternoon.
Okay. 19 is not available for me because of the airport advisory.
No. Wait. But how long do you meet? We can meet after that?
Okay, it meets from 12:30 till about 2:30.
Yeah.
Oh, so we could meet in late afternoon?
That's what I'm proposing.
Okay.
Something like 3 o'clock.
Or 3 o'clock, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next meeting, is there a consensus on that? Is everyone going to be available at this point?
What date is that? I'm sorry.
Thursday, November 19 at, what time did you propose? 3 o'clock,
Yes.
Mayor?
Okay, I'm good with that.
Okay, is everyone else? Commissioner Sanchez?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I think I can do that. I have a meeting until I think about the same time, 2:30.
Oh,
So
okay.
I should be able to do 3 o'clock.
Yeah. Okay. And Councilor Beta Stubbe?
Yes, that works. Thank you.
Okay, great. So, okay, that pretty much covers all of us, I think. So let's move on to December. And does anyone have a proposed date for, well, would we be in the same situation then, just to move it to December 17 at 3 p.m.?
That sounds like a good move.
Okay.
I can do it. I have a downtown parking committee at 4, so I'll have to slip out, but do my best to be here as long as I can.
Okay.
Madam Chair, what date was that in December?
December 17.
At what time?
It would be at 3 p.m.
Okay.
So we'd be moving both meetings we'd up a week earlier.
And then in the afternoon.
And in the afternoon at 3 p.m., yes.
Okay. I'm good with that one.
Okay, wonderful. So that's, all right. Great. Good, okay. So next is public input. Do we have anybody online or on the phone to for public input? Do we have any of that information, Adrian or Mr. Dollahan?
Madam Chair, there's no members of the public as attendees. Everyone today is a panelist, and I don't see any hands raised.
Okay.
And Madam Chair, I've received no emails either.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Thacker. Okay, so we'll move on to that being the case. We'll move on to item 7, which is chair and board comments. So we'll begin with, let me look at my little list here. Well, let's see, Mr. Dollahan, let's go down the list.
Madam Chair, the only item I have is for the group, is for the board members, is that it is September, so we normally we complete Mr. Thacker's evaluation in November, and that is coordinated by myself with the vice chair, which is Commissioner Sanchez. I can get the form out to everyone and then start working on dates for a closed meeting as to when you want to do that discussion and evaluation. The evaluation, we asked Mr. Thacker to do a self-evaluation that he shares with the group, and then we share with you the evaluation form along with his self-evaluation. And then Commissioner Sanchez and I coordinate that with our Human Resources Office and a closed meeting for you to discuss. Generally, we do that in October after the regular meeting, and then we do another one in November to finalize that. But November, we might have to do some other date than Thursday the 19th for closed sessions. But I can, if you're comfortable, I can just coordinate that with Commissioner Sanchez. Because that's the vice chair's responsibility.
Okay, and then as far as the closed meeting goes, you would just work on everybody's calendars, or that would you?
Yes, I'll try to get it as close to the same day as we normally would meet.
Oh, okay.
I think in October I would do it after the regular meeting, and then November we'll have to work out another date.
Okay, great.
That's it, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dollahan. And next would be Lynn. Mr. Ellens, do you have any comments?
No, I think I've wasted enough time with you guys today already.
You wasted it with us? Okay, you didn't waste our time with us. Okay, great. Okay, thank you for that comment. Moving on. Jean Quintero, Ms. Quintero, do you have any comments?
No, I have no comments. Thank you.
And thank you. Thank you very much. Next is Mayor Pro Tem Cassandra Gandara.
Yeah, just want to reiterate that if we have changed our platform a little bit through the city of Las Cruces to include the public, and I'd like for us to work on maybe some detailed instructions about that, just letting you know that you're able to attend these meetings and how that looks. I wasn't sure if we had informed the public related to Animal Services Center Board. I'd like to see that. And then just the presentation related to DACU's new program. And thirdly, and just encouraging the animal advocate programs to help us come to the table with some solutions about the feral cat situation. And I would encourage us to have a dialogue in our Las Cruces, our city task force. I think that's an important one where we can go over the maps and look at strategies. And yes, we did have a very robust conversation about the cat colonies, registrations, those things in terms of what we were going to present as part of our new ordinance to the council. But I really feel like this is something that needs to be discussed thoroughly. And maybe then decide and develop an educational campaign as well. I think that COVID has been very difficult for everybody, but it certainly has for the animals and the service center and those folks that work. There's some deep challenges, but it also has reduced our population greatly. So you're really, I think, in terms of what the center is supposed to really be for, it's working, but it's certainly highlighting the issues that we have, right, and the barriers. And so, and the data is pretty clear. So we should really, as this board, look at that and then develop some strategies, campaigns, those kinds of things to really affect change in a positive way. Thank you, Madam Chair.
And thank you very much, Mayor Pro Tem. Okay, Commissioner Sanchez.
No, I'm good. And I just really, like I mentioned earlier, I appreciated all the data that was done by Mr. Thacker and the team. So otherwise, that's it. I'm looking forward to seeing you all again in October.
Great, wonderful. Is there anyone else on the board that I've missed who isn't maybe on the participants list? Sometimes
Councilor Beta Stubbe.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Let me see.
That's all right. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Let me see if you're really on here. Otherwise, I can't call. I'm sorry. It's just that the thing got stuck. Anyway, yes, Councilor Beta Stubbe.
No, thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I'll be following up with your suggestions as well. And other than that, that's all I have. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I do have one other thing to chatter about.
Yes.
Gina, Mary Lou, I know that you present your figures pursuant to the sheriff's districts. Is there any way we can do what the city is doing and also present the animal pickups or complaints pursuant to commissioner districts?
We can add the commissioner districts to the sheriff's districts. It's going to be a little bit different, of course. If that'll help, we can add the commissioner districts to those districts. Absolutely.
Because when I look at the way we're doing it, I've got a little bit of District 1, I got a little bit of District 4, and I got a little bit of some other district. And it's difficult to figure out what the activity actually is in my district.
Yeah, that's how they're reported through the 911 center. That's the geo district, how they are reported. So that's how we get them through central dispatch. That's why we report them that way. But we can overlay them on a map and actually tell which is the commissioner district, if that'll help for the reporting for you all. We can surely do that. Now to map it, like Gino has a mapping system, I don't think we'll be able to do that. We would have to get with our GIS department and look at something to see what we could do on that aspect. I'm not sure what all it entailed on Gino's part. I'd have to get with him and see.
Okay, we'll do your best.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ellens, and thank you again, Mary Lou. Are there any other comments? Okay, if not, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.